A federal judge in the Comey case has blocked an order that would have forced the DOJ to hand over grand jury evidence, calling the demand improper and warning of investigative missteps.
Yeah, this judge, who's a magistrate judge, absolutely blasted Pam Bondi's Justice Department and her hand-picked special attorney in the Special U.S. Attorney Lindsay Halligan, who, by the way, how many cases had she prosecuted before this one?
5 trillion.
Yeah. 5 trillion minus 5 trillion.
Oh.
None. And there's real questions about whether she was even legally appointed because the 120 days for an interim appointment had expired. And, you know, there's a good case to be made. She had to be approved by the Senate. It never was. But aside from the questionable appointment, this magistrate judge blasted what Halligan, working for Bondi's Department of Justice, her misconduct in bringing this indictment. Quote, having been requested by the government to review the grand jury materials, the court has identified 2 statements by the prosecutor to the grand jurors that on their face appear to be fundamental misstatements of law that could compromise the integrity of the grand jury process. Do you hear that, Sam? Mm-hmm. Fundamental misstatements of the law. And whether that was deliberate in their zeal to get this indictment through, no matter how flimsy it was. Remember, the experienced prosecutor who had been the U.S. attorney got forced out, right? Because he wouldn't indict because he said there's no case there. The magistrate judge went on to write, quote, the court recognizes that the relief sought by the defense is rarely granted. That is a dismissal for prosecutorial misconduct. He goes on to say, however, the record points to a disturbing pattern of profound investigative missteps that led an FBI agent and a prosecutor to potentially undermine the integrity of the grand jury proceedings. That's pretty strong language from a federal judge. You almost never hear language like that, especially directed against the Department of Justice, although we've heard it a number of times directed against Pam Bondi's Department of Justice. So the higher judge, the actual federal court judge, has stayed the ruling of the magistrate judge to turn over the grand jury materials. Doesn't mean that it won't happen. It just means more time is given for the developments and arguments. But based on what is already seen, he's talking about profound misconduct, fundamental misstatements of the law. So it seems to me that this politically driven indictment with the flimsiest of evidence, if you looked at what is actually being charged as something that they claim, you know, he lied about something that he said years before in response to a very ambiguous question. You know, it's a complete, you know, politically driven indictment. But leave that aside. You know, when we're talking about misstatements of law, profound misconduct, I don't think this indictment is gonna last.
And our final topic before we go to questions. Remember, our questions come from our members and donators. A panel of federal judges have blocked Texas's new congressional map for the 26 elections, ruling it violates the Voting Act's right by diluting Latino and Black voting power.
I'm not going to comment on the substance because I can't.
Oh.
But I will comment on the politics of this.
Okay.
Which has nothing to do with the substance of the ruling. I warned, right, you know, that this gerrymandering was a risky business. Once you start a war, Sam, do you know what the outcome is going to be?
No.
No. The outcome is uncertain. Trump started the gerrymandering wars by pressuring Governor Abbott of Texas to rewrite an already gerrymandered plan to give the Republicans 5 more districts. That began this whole process that later, in retaliation, led Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, to start a process enabling California to offset what Texas was doing. But it started in Texas. And now a court has said, you can't do it. This is racially gerrymandering. You cannot use this plan. It's unconstitutional. Now, they're, of course, appealing to the Supreme Court. And three things can happen. One, Supreme Court won't take it. Four things. Two, it takes it and overturns the stay. Three, it takes it and sustains the stay. Or four, it takes it and it deliberates so long that it's too late to overturn the stay, because I think the process for the primaries in Texas begins December 8th, just in a few weeks. They would have to rush a ruling through to accommodate that. They may. Who knows? They've been, very deferential to Trump on this so-called rocket docket. But this now raises the real possibility that the war Trump started politically, he may lose. He may lose the 5 seats in Texas, and lo and behold, Gavin Newsom gets the 5 Democratic seats. Remember, these are only purported. They're not guaranteed. But, the 5 seats they were trying to get in Texas, they can try to get, whereas Newsom can try to get 5 Democratic seats in California. Plus, other states have refused to heed Trump's call for redistricting. I think Indiana and Kansas, 2 solidly red states, have said, no, we are not going to do mid-decade redistricting, which is very rare.
Actually, we have one more topic. Sorry, I said last one was our final one. We have one more. The Trump administration unveiled a sweeping plan to dismantle the education department, shifting major federal responsibilities to the states and eliminating key civil rights functions.
This is just a disaster for American education, which we know Trump had been warring on in many, many other ways, including pressuring colleges and universities to adhere to his politically driven conservative orthodoxy in their policies and teaching. So what he's done is he has transferred 6 offices within the education department to other agencies that have no expertise, no experience. He's also taken funds that go to low-income schools, and my understanding is given them to the states, and God knows what's going to happen there, and even transferred at least 2 functions. Get this, Sam. What is the most incompetent agency headed by the most incompetent secretary? There's a couple to choose from, but...
RFK Jr.
Yes.
Aha!
Yes! He's sending child care access and foreign medical school accreditation to the Department of Health and Human Services. And he sent the Office of Indian Education to the Interior Department, which has a notoriously bad record in dealing with Indian issues, and international education, foreign language initiatives, and research programs to the State Department, which has been dismantling foreign aid programs of all kind. And he's done all this without the consent of Congress, even though Congress established the Education Department. It was not established by executive order of the president. Thanks for watching our video. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and become a member today.